Welcome into the official broadcasting live from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, PA. That's right. We're taking the show on the road. Well, actually, just I'm on the road, but still bringing you the content that I know you love, the content we love. And of course, we got a great show for you again this week. Going to do the check in with how these players are doing. Been doing this every other week or so during the season, catching you up on all the different high school players, who's rising, who's falling, who's making good on what we thought they were, and who's making us question, are they as good as we thought they were? And so bringing you all the relevant updates for potential future fantasy freshman drafts and all that good stuff here on the official. We will have the whole team in tow tonight. And so, like I said, this is the official. All right, gentlemen, welcome in. Of course, we're love to have the whole team. Mostly we do. Sometimes we don't, but glad to see everybody's smiling faces. We have a great show tonight, but before we get started, of course, just want to throw out there, I'm wearing a polo shirt tonight. I'm on a work trip. However, homefieldapparel.com is our partner for this season, and they have a fantastic vintage retro-ish college wear, t-shirts, pants, hoodies are great. I think they even have added hats in the last year. And really any team you can imagine, from St. Peter's all the way up until UGA and Alabama. Every college, or most colleges, they have apparel for those teams. They partner with the universities to come up with really great vintage inspired looking graphics that really encompass the teams and the universities. So go check out Home Field Apparel if you haven't .com if you haven't already. I don't have a shirt on tonight, but go check them out for yourself. And if you're a first-time buyer, Campus to Canton is the promo code to get you 15% off your first purchase. Of course, also go check out campustocanton.com. That's with the number 2, both for the promo code and for the website, our parent website that has everything you need for college fantasy football, Devy Dynasty, and NFL side fantasy football. Anything you want, with membership starting as low as $2.99 per month. Okay, we've got that out of the way. Important stuff, but we really want to dig into the players. We're doing our weekly recap. I think this is weeks, is it 6 and 7 of the high school season? I think that we're at. High school starts a little before college. And let's just lead it off at the top. We've kind of been doing always an update on Dylan Raiola. In the beginning of the season, it looked a little clunky. However, David, we'll throw it to you first here. Looks like he's been pretty dang efficient for the last little bit here. Maybe on the season, looks like he's getting close to 70% completions. He has not thrown an interception yet. Stats aren't overwhelming, but what are you seeing from Dylan Raiola, as we continue to track this number 1 quarterback on most services?
Yeah, I think he's doing really well against pressure. This throw is pretty crazy here as he's coming down. Showed a little Ben Roethlisberger there, just guys hanging on him. This is like a crossbody throw, just an absolute bomb. We know his deep ball is just the best in the class pretty easily. But I don't know. He looks a little more spry, I feel like. Like, he's not a runner, obviously, we know that. But, like, he seems to do pretty well, like, navigating the pocket. Like, he looks pretty nimble here, at least. But, yeah, I mean, he's a pretty good improviser. And he's just, like, his efficiency, he kind of ducked that guy. So he can make stuff happen, even though he's not really a runner. But his efficient, these are just a couple of... So that was another thing I noticed, like some of these intermediate distance throws. Like when I watched it before, it seemed like he was mostly like placing the ball and he was sort of like guiding it. But now it seems like his arm speed is like quickened and he has more confidence in it and just letting it rip. So I don't know. We kind of talked about how he began football, like quarterback, as a 9th grader. And it seems like the more reps he gets, the more comfortable he gets.
Yeah, just looking at the stats, I mean, just for people out there, 229 yards in week 2 or week 6, and then week 7, 276 yards. He's not blowing the doors off. He's only really attempting 15, 16 passes a game, which might be what he does at Georgia. But I think Buford is a traditional powerhouse. They are usually a run-based offense from what I gather, but it's a very good program playing at very high level Georgia football, which we all know. I don't know if we have his SOS on hand right now, but we know it's good, especially playing 38 SOS, which is pretty good, better than average. And so, but yeah, it's like he flashes. He's not overwhelming with stats, but you can see in the clips there is Mahomesian improvisation that you said. And he's always been compared to Mahomes a little bit since his sophomore year of high school, which is obviously pretty unfair. But he's interesting with that kind of off balance, off platform ability to get the ball in the hands of his receivers from any place on the field. And the deep ball is pretty nasty as well. I agree with you. He looks like he's started to maybe get a little bit more comfortable with whatever Buford's running on offense, whatever types of defense he's seeing. And maybe there's just a small transition there, but he looks a little more comfortable of late. Throwing it to Matt here for the other video or another video we have of the quarterbacks. Walker White, friend of the show, Walker White. If you don't remember, he was on the official about 6 to 8 times last year. We followed him every month or so with an update of his season. One team that his Little Rock Christian Academy has always had trouble with is Pulaski Academy, which is kind of a powerhouse in the state of Arkansas. Just got word they dominated Pulaski last week. Love to see it. Finally, Walker White gets the monkey off his back, able to beat Pulaski Academy. And now I hope Little Rock Christian is maybe cruising towards a state championship potential here. But tell us about Walker White, Matt, and what's he showing us this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's continued to show that his crazy athletic ability there, at least on that nice hurdle. But yeah, I mean, he's what you want, and when you're looking for like the prototype kind of quarterback. I mean, he's got the arm, he's got the mobility. We were just hoping to see him put some more things together. He didn't go to the Elite 11, which left more question marks on his profile than a lot of the other guys, at least. But I mean, he looked good there. A little shaky in a couple other games that we watched. But I mean, definitely progress. I mean, he dominated this team. This is one of the best in the state. A team that's given him trouble in the past, as you said. So I mean, it's great. It's what you want to see, and he's probably the next multi-year starter there at Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn has truly nothing at quarterback right now. I mean, Peyton Thorne brought in a transfer. He's been brutal. I think the door's wide open. What we want to see is, fantasy people that these guys have opportunity right away. He's going to be an early enrollee. I think there's a chance. It's pretty rare in Power 5 to have a true freshman starter right off the bat, but this is the opportunity that we would be salivating over to get early playing time for Walker White. Very excited about that. You're absolutely right. The tools are all there. I was looking at his max preps on the season. He's still flirting with 56% completion, which has kind of been the MO his entire career, which has always been something we wished we could see a little bit higher. Want to see 65, getting into the 70s for some of these truly elite guys. But when you can dominate on the ground the way he has last year, 821 yards on the ground, we know he's got that in his bag. We can be a little more lenient with the arm, and we will see what happens. If nothing else, there could be some packages for him as a true freshman, the Tebow style, where you come in and basically do some running, maybe some jump passes or something like that. But I think he's gonna get on the field as a true freshman, just judging by what they've got at Auburn right now. So that's exciting. Glad to see him. Obviously we have a little bit of a personal connection, and really glad to see him get that win against Pulaski Academy. All right, David. DJ Lagway, what else can we say about him? And we've talked about him a few times this year. He just keeps putting up absolutely bonkers numbers. What's he done now?
Yeah, he's just ultra efficient at this point. 75% completion percentage, 31 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and he still has the rushing to boot. So he's kind of just dominating his competition. The SOS is pretty low right now at 7. So hopefully we get some more challenging games like later in the schedule here, and hopefully he dominates those as well. But yeah, I mean, it seems like he just looks better and better. His mechanics, what do you guys think of? We can just discuss it, like his mechanics and stuff. Every once in a while, he kind of has it looks a little funky, a little long and stuff, but I think you can tighten it up a little. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of times he's just throwing off platform too, just whipping them. So, I mean, he's definitely not the most refined quarterback, but I don't think it's awful either. When he's trying to just do a standard drop back and sling it down, for a nice intermediate pass, I think he's usually fine there. But just maybe when he's trying to extend some plays, sometimes he gets a little bit too hesitant, and even just double thinking himself when he's about to let go of the ball. So I think that plays into it.
I agree with the out platform stuff. He seems like he's always running around, opposite arm angle, and he can flick it. He can absolutely flick it, which is great to see. But he's definitely not your refined CJ Carr type guy in the pocket. He doesn't have that right now. I don't know if he ever will. I don't know if he needs to. But yeah, he's got an interesting motion. I agree. It's a little bit clunky, but it seems to work. It seems pretty quick. I know he played baseball, so I think he's got kind of that flick. I don't know what position he played, but almost like a middle infielder turning 2 type flick he's got at times, which I love. I love that quick release, but it is a little bit awkward. He's also not the type of runner like a Lamar Jackson. I think he's a little closer to a Tebow style runner. Where he gets the yards and he's effective, but he's not necessarily electric, which is okay. But just this year, I mean, doing literally anything you could ask. I know his SOS, we've said it's low, it's 7 right now. That's below average, but you just can't ask him to do more. I mean,
he's added almost 10% to his completion percentage from last year. I think last year he was at 67, now he's at 75. That's a good bump.
That's big. 75%. Like I was saying before with Walker White, we like to see 65, and then over 70 is really nice for these top tier prospects. Miles O'Neill, a guy that I want to say, Matt, you brought him up first, maybe? But
I believe so, yeah.
A while ago, I hadn't really heard of him too much, but he's looking great. Talking about completion percentage, 78%. We don't have a video, but he looks pretty nice. And then 2 guys who have been playing QB since freshman year, so a lot of experience. And we have a video of Caleb Osborne, who's going to Toledo. David, could he be the heir apparent to DeQuan Finn? What are we seeing here with Caleb Osborne out of Michigan?
Yeah, he's a really good runner. So this guy's 6'4", 6'5", 205 pounds, but you can see he's got really good lateral movement. Essentially we were hoping that he can be used like Daquan Finn. He can break tackles, a strong runner, and he's got enough speed. You can see to take it to the house. You can see his athleticism a little more here. He just jumps over this dude right here. But yeah, he's been ultra efficient. He's playing bad competition. So it's like a -5 SOS. But so he has a 73% completion percentage. Take that with a grain of salt. He's got to refine some stuff. It's a lot of simplistic passing, and he'll get there. But he's definitely a super talented runner. He's averaging 176 rushing yards per game, and his VOE is 6.83, which is
1,000 yards already on this season rushing, which is six or 7 games. That's nuts.
So basically, G5. Hopefully, it stays G5. I know Syracuse was going after him. I think they decided for Jakari Williams anyway. But anyways, hopefully, it stays with Toledo and he can be a really good fantasy player.
Yeah. I mean, seems like G5 with a really good running quarterback. Sign me up. Maber Matower is an interesting guy, Matt. He's, I believe, committed now to Wisconsin out of the state of Texas, which seems like an interesting transition to go up to Wisconsin there. Looking good on the season so far, and you've got him in here. What are you seeing from Matauer? I've watched his videos myself. Wasn't overly impressed, at least with his junior stuff. But what are we thinking on Matauer? Because he was an interesting guy, and he looks like Sunshine from Remember the Titans, so you'd love to see that as well.
Yeah, I mean he's a really big guy. I believe he's like 6'5", 200 around there. He's very mobile too. On top of it, I mean the passing is great. 71% completion this year, 17 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 200 yards rushing. That's all pretty good. He's not playing the highest level of Texas ball, but yeah, I still think he's playing pretty good.
35 SOS.
35 SOS. That is good. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember if he's playing 6A or 5A. But either way, 35 SOS is good. And yeah, I was more into him before the season as a CFF bet with, Wisconsin, with the new system coming in. Well, yeah, it's been a slow, rocky start, I think. It hasn't been quite as good as everyone was hoping, but I still think it's a pretty good spot for the future. Probably not a guy I'm super interested for Devy, though. I don't think he has a very big arm.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe CFF only look out for the Wisconsin prospect. And then Aiden Glover, a guy we have talked about a little bit, who's been getting some buzz, definitely from the official. And I think the services have also come on with Aiden Glover a little bit. But I will spare us the language used in the show sheet. However, it looks like he has not been great this year so far. Last game, 11 for 23, sub 50% completion, 116, 0 touchdowns, 3 picks in week 6, and overall just not having the season maybe that we hoped for when we were hyping him up in the offseason. He looks very interesting, very toolsy, but so far his senior season not going as planned there for Aiden Glover, so maybe pump the brakes, headed to Missouri, which all of a sudden, we were talking off air, all of a sudden Missouri sounds like a great place to go. I mean, the other week, 2 Missouri receivers had 100 yards. Like, I don't even remember when the last time that might have happened. They're going off. That offense is clicking, and all of a sudden, Missouri looks like a destination on offense. With the you guys were, I didn't even know, I was not updated, but they got the OC from Fresno State, is what you were saying. So that seems to be working out pretty nice. Okay. In the interest of time, we can just push it on to running back here. David, I'm going to make you talk about him again because you liked him, but you were not as high. And we all were like, oh man, Matt was right. Matt was right. David Eziomume, not that good after all. And then all of a sudden, he's just been absolutely obliterating the competition. So what's the update here?
Yeah, it's strange because the service, like all the services have him in like the 30s or something. But he's just, I don't know, every week. So like, he has almost 800 yards and 10 touchdowns in the last 3 games. So it's like those first 2 games, he was averaging like less than 4 yards per carry.
And I think not even being used that much. Like he wasn't even getting the snaps or carries.
Yeah, and he's been a workhorse, which is a big change from last year because last year was interesting because it was Benjamin Hall went to Michigan, and then I just realized this like last week or whatever that David Mabedinga, something like that, he went to Georgia Southern. So they actually had 3 FBS running backs in that room. Now it's just him. So it's like he's the workhorse and he's putting up all these numbers. He looks good. 3-down skill set, pretty open, relatively open room. It looks like to me. So yeah, I mean, I already moved him up. I think he's like my running back 5 or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I love to hear that. I mean, he was my 1 for a little bit in the off season, and I felt crazy because he's a 3-star, but I was like, I just feel like he's got, I don't know. I graded him that way. And then in the beginning of the season, like you said, we expected him to be like, this is the year. There's no more in competition in the room. And he wasn't doing it the first 2 weeks. All of a sudden, it's like, well, I got to rethink this. And now all of a sudden, he's bonkers. So we'll see. Truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Taylor Tatum, I know that you, David, have been talking about him most of the year. He's been a guy you've drafted a lot of our, I feel like our mock drafts, and looks pretty good. 22, 252, and 3. I mean, some of these high school running backs that are really good, like their lines every week are just insane. I mean, it's just normal for these guys to go over 200 yards. But looks good against a 33 power rating high school. So Taylor Tatum continuing to do work and going to Michigan, right? So we like that.
No, Oklahoma.
Oh, Oklahoma, which is a crowded running back room, actually. But he seems like a good prospect, and he's doing it his senior season. And then Johan Cardenas coming back after injury and really doing what we hoped to see he would do. He's a top 5 running back for me. I think he is for you as well. I know I think for a minute he might have been top 3 for you. I'm not sure if he's still sitting there or if I've got that wrong. Update us on Cardenas looking good so far.
I don't think I ever had him that high. I know Austin's very high on him too. He might be a top 5 for him. He's in my top 10 though, I believe. But yeah, I mean, great start to the season. He missed the first couple of weeks. We assume still recovering from that ACL injury from late last season. Still wearing the knee brace, but putting up awesome numbers. What is it here? 3 games, 67 touches, 67 carries, 543 yards, 5 touchdowns, 8-yard average, and he's also got 9 catches for 172 yards. So, I mean, you can't really ask for much better than that in 3 games. That's pretty killer. Yeah. Good efficiency too.
And that receiving is nice, and we liked that about him. That
8 of the catches came from the first game he came back. He had 8 catches that game, which is crazy in itself. But
that's a lot, yeah.
Still,
but a bigger guy pushing, I think 220, able to contribute in the receiving game is very nice. That's a 3-down skill set. And then 2 quick kind of negatives here. Jason Patterson, a guy we've been pumping up lately. Slowed down by bad competition over the last 3 games. Is that because he's getting pulled because they're just killing people, or he's not really performing even though he should be?
I think they lost all 3. Yeah. They lost all 3 games, so they might have been a little bit
playing
over.
Down
They're
to
all close games, but his efficiency went 5.8 yards per carry is pretty bad.
Yeah, last 3 games, only 43, 251, so not even getting to 100. Not great against negative 24 SOS, I guess, over the last 3 games. So we were liking him. I don't, just for the listener, this doesn't negate the things that we have said about the player. We're just updating you. And we know that maybe he lost 5 offensive linemen. Like, we don't know some of the details of the team and the context, but, it's worth noting. Nathaniel Frazier, a guy who I really like, and I know David's on him too, but looking like this season is just not what we hoped. Kind of the fear that David Eziomume was not getting the workhorse stuff. Frazier on his end is definitely not. I mean, 4 games, he's only got 34, 225, and 1. That's not very good. He's not even getting 10 carries a game. Receiving 489 and 1, not even getting receptions, even if he's like trying to be a dual threat type guy. So the highlights look great, but full body of work is very concerning, and I'm not going to be able to keep him as high as I have him, I don't think, because how can we project a guy to not be that in high school and then be a workhorse fantasy starter in college? That's going to be really difficult. But when he flashes big, but the whole picture is not looking great for Nathaniel Frazier. And I don't even care that his backfield mate is a great 2025 guy. It shouldn't be that bad. Jeremiah Smith continues to be really good. Gonna have to figure out a way to give him better grades. Anybody got something to chime in on Jeremiah Smith? I know Matt's been a little bit more easily aggressive with him. David and I have been a little bit more skeptical, but looking good. 9-1-1-2. Any thoughts? Either one of you chime in on Smith. Anything to kind of update other than he's really good?
Yeah, all right, I don't got anything new.
Just that he continues to be the alpha on that team right now.
Yeah, very much more than Trader.
I like Trader's skill set, but just from a production standpoint, it's pretty much all Jeremiah. So
yeah, that is true. He's very much outproducing Trader. Okay, then we've got Micah Hudson, which we like a lot. He's been one of our favorites, and we've got a video here. Matt, he's still your best receiver of the last 2 classes, I think. Your highest rated. Maybe your highest. still your highest rated player ever since we've been doing this. So I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen these clips, so these will be surprises to me too. That's an amazing jumping grab. I mean, he does that very, very regularly. I've talked so much about Hudson at this point. I mean, he's just so good at every phase of the game. He's a great route runner. He can win contested. He's great with the ball in his hands. I don't know what more you could ask for with him, really. And he's a pretty good athlete, too. I mean, 21.4 miles per hour max speed. He's a four-sport athlete. It's just such a solid profile, and it's really hard to knock him on anything, really.
Going committed right now to Texas Tech, which feels a little bit weird, but I mean, if he continues to go to Texas Tech, he should be a day one starter if he is who we think he is, like literally day one. No question. All right, and then we got KJ Duff, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns last week, and I think we have a clip of a great catch. David, you want to tell us about KJ Duff? I don't think we've talked about him before.
I talked about it once recently, or it was one of the shows where we talked about guys from weird areas of he's from like New York or something, from a small area. So
I'll show it one more time here.
Yeah, he's going to Ruck. I mean, yeah, he's got sick hands. Kind of like Jacoby Lane a little bit from the last class, but like, yeah, he's one of those weird, he's like these 6'5" guys where no one wants to like him because he's tall, but I don't know, man. He kind of moves well, and they're going to use him at receiver, it sounds like, at Rutgers. So
yeah, I'm interested. Guy, listed at tight end on 24/7, but if you're saying they may utilize him as a receiver, that could be a cheat code. What if he comes on Fantrax as a tight end? That could be interesting.
Yeah, if he can get tight end eligibility, that's kind of a cheat code situation. Kind of like I kind of talked about around Nick Gatz and that type of player. So someone to look out for.
Awesome. Yeah, great update there. And I think that clip, if Jetpack Galileo from Twitter happens to be watching, arrogant hands. That's what I think. That's like the definition of arrogant hands. So, if you're watching us, Jetpack, shout out. I think I attribute that phrase to you. Okay, moving on. We got 2 tight end videos, which we don't see very much here on the official. But Jamie Tremble, wow, I'm not super familiar with either one of these tight ends, to be honest with you. But Jamie Tremble, quite a line here. We've got a little clip. Matt, tell us about this guy. He's headed to Syracuse.
Yeah, we've talked to him about him a bit before. He's a Tommy Tremble's little brother, tight end for the Panthers. If he's still there, I'm not quite sure. If he is really. I mean, he's been a fringe guy, but athletic freak. I mean, he's got like, I think Jamie has like 134-inch broad jump, which is 99th or 100th percentile in our database. Super athletic, going to Syracuse where they've been, able to make these tight end wide receiver hybrids produce well with Rondé Gadsden. So, the hope is there. Very good CFF bet with the athletic upside for sure to make it to the league.
I like that rationale. You can't knock it. And I like, what you're saying with what Syracuse has done with some tight ends. And then Decker DeGraff, tight end 3-star, headed to Washington. And this is a new one for me as well. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Not sure.
It's a new one for me too.
Decker DeGraff.
This is all David.
Just found him with production. He's like one of the most. He's one of the most productive. So here we go. He catches this off this guy's back. Of course, it's really hard to see, but his ball skills. This one he pretty much picks off the ground in the corner of the end zone there, and then he just lays out for this one. So this dude has some serious ball skills. I had never watched him. Washington's kind of sneaky with tight ends. I feel like I haven't.
They've had some good guys.
I looked at his stat. I just found him just because he's like one of the most productive players in the tight ends in the country. He's got, I think this is over 6 games. So he's got like 8 touchdowns in 6 games, and he's got like 115 yards per game or something, which is pretty good for a tight end. So anyways, he's a guy to look out for. Really good ball skills. So.
Yeah, out of the state of California, Washington goes in and picks him off. But 47, 14, and 8, that's the line we've got for him. That is super impressive for a tight end. And he's got kind of requisite size. I think I saw 6'4", 230 already. So, definitely a good mound of clay to mold when he hits that college weight room and college campus. So good name to put on the radar. I mean, I think with tight ends, it's always nice to have names because we're not going to draft a lot of these guys. But if you hear that they're popping, you hear that they're running with the first team, these guys are often outside of, the top 3 or 4 in a class. Like they're going to be on waivers. Look, Luke Haas for Arkansas. Like I bet you he was not drafted. But if you knew the name, you heard of one game, you can act quickly. So I think it's really important to know these names, even if you may not draft them in your initial freshman draft. That's why we give them to you. All right, guys, we're at 30 minutes. That's what we love to see. Got through all the players. A lot of nice updates there. Thank you, as always, to you two for mining a lot of these videos and doing the stats, preparing the show. I just sit here and point guard it a little bit, but you guys are doing the work in the paint to cross sports with the analogy there. But, appreciate everything you guys do. And thank you for tuning into The Official. We'll be back next week. This has been The Official.